there.
Yeah.
I feel like Halandras would maybe be one of them because I fatigue from how long we were seeing it. I think, okay, he's just like cringing at me right now, but I think it's a fun looking fight. Like, I'm excited to get to it.
It's a fight that's gonna make me hate some of the people that I raid with. I worry that that's a boss where you just sit there and you're like, what? Dude, just pick up the bomb. Or then it's like, then I mess up the bomb and it's like, dude, I'm so dumb. Why didn't I pick up the bomb? I don't know. I can see myself hating that fight.
I'm not really sure because part of the difficulty on that fight was like we were saying so many times, mechanics themselves individually weren't difficult. It's the overlaps that made them hard. And I think with the gear that we're going to be getting, it'll make that a lot easier, which indirectly will make the bombs a lot easier.
I think that's mostly the difficulty of Mythic more often than not is like, not too many mechanics change, but the overlaps become way more oppressive is what I'll say. Hello, Preheat. How are you doing today? He says that he's doing okay, chat. Bree, do you want to come tell us about the importance of Fire Mage? You can come do a diatribe. I'm offering you to have a moment where you can talk about Fire Mage, man. And why they will be good on this fight because of execute damage. He says that Fire Mage is always good, which I very much doubt. Hello, chat. How are you guys doing today?
See, now you guys can actually get a feel of how close I am to the TV, and I just can't see anything, so.
They don't see the... is them to get a clean push into phase 2 with all of the puddles cleared. So we've seen them get into P2 a couple times by the 3-minute mark, just by the boss naturally pushing, but they were nowhere near close enough on the Azeroth, the Blood of Azeroth puddles that they need to clear, and so then they basically just hit, like, the boss goes and smacks Azeroth and it just takes all of his HP away. That's where we got the 76.6%. I think if we get all 8 of the puddles cleared in the first phase, and then we phase into P2, that is a really good day of progression from Echo.
So if you think that that is the biggest problem,
Okay, I'm listening.
What is the solution?
Be fast. They need to be faster with their movement, and they're struggling right now with a lot of overlaps and timing stuff. So whenever like guilds like ours go into these bosses, a lot of the times we'll get like spreadsheets or like documents of timings that we're going to be like, okay, so you're stacking up then, while Team 2 is going to be chain lightninging the Heart of Azeroth, while these people are probably going to be getting the bomb or something like that, right? And so whenever our guilds get to these fights, and most people's guilds get to these fights, they see what the world first guilds have already laid the groundwork for them, because they have to go through this progression that we're seeing right here. And so so like I think they need to be a little bit faster with what they're doing on how they're doing the chain lightning, but I do think it's very important work.
Yeah, it really is. This is like kind of ish related, but when it comes to like laying down the groundwork, especially when you look at Desegni, which I think I'm finally pronouncing it correctly after 2 weeks.
Lasagna?
Yeah, lasagna, that one. Thank you. You kind of saw the same thing there, where it's just like until we saw the first guilds get there, that's when suddenly everyone's Discord was go Venthyr.
Well, it was all. I thought it was like also Artificer. Artificer was a boss where.
Yeah, it really is.
Honest to God, I tested on the PTR, and I was like, I have no idea how you're supposed to do the movement on this fight. I'm just going to wait for Liquid and Echo to get there, and then I'll just watch a kill video of them. I'll see how they're going to be dealing with these lines and like dragging their raid around. And then once you see it, it makes sense. You're like, oh, so that's how it's supposed to be done. And then it's like Sire to Nathra is kind of similar, like P2 is Sire.
Yeah, we saw the same thing with KT, with like how they designed the
exactly.
That's when we saw Echo Dudes, like, so that's what Blizzard wanted us to do for sure.
Exactly. Definitely what they wanted us to do is just stop DPS at 5% and let the boss face have a 21-minute encounter.
True test of DPS brain restraint. That was the true test on that fight.
Don't have that one.
Don't have what?
Restraint.
Oh.
And it's like Sire to Nathra is kind of similar, like P2
Yeah.
Sire.
Yeah, we saw the same thing.
But yeah, no, so I think that they need to increase the pace and like work on the overlaps, and it is very difficult for them to test each and every overlap, and they're like, okay, so this is because right now, like the boss's mechanics by themselves are not overly difficult. It comes down to when they are including in those lightning Blood of Azeroth circles, and that's the issue that we're trying to find is like, what is the optimal time for us to be able to include these in? Should we bump it up to 3 separate groups, or is 2 plenty? What's going to allow us to get all 8 of these puddles cleared out?
Yeah, I want to generalize here and say usually with a lot of fights there's just like a pretty strict or at least obvious way to handle things.
Sure.
So with the puddles, we can see that here with what you're talking about. This is one of the mechanics where it's like they have to kind of make the active decision of when we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But what's really fun is when you see guilds do it a different way. But I can't imagine we'd really see that.
That's scary, by the way. If you have the 2 Race World First guilds doing it a different way, that means that one of them is probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes it more fun.
Wrong. Wrong meaning less optimal, because they're like strategies that are definitely almost objectively harder, and these guilds are never going to do something that is impossible. But I mean, we saw it on Painsmith. Complexity Limit had a worse strategy on Painsmith that cost them a lot of wipes. At the same time, on Sire to Nathrius, Echo had the strategy that guilds ended up adopting. To the patch, but Limit's strategy for Nathrius P2 somehow saved them a lot of pulls. So it gets scary from my perspective, because then you worry it's like, oh god, is one of these guilds going to just completely paragon the boss and try to do Archimond without a radar again?
Yeah, that's one of like the scary things that can happen, because it's like, let's just say 2 different guilds are doing 2 different strats.
Yeah.
And like you said, usually there is one that is just kind of objectively better. And then it's like, you're like, do we kind of fall, or I shouldn't say fall for, but do we kind of like act on the sunk cost fallacy, or
yep,
you know, like change it at the risk of this will put us behind kind of thing? So
it's always dangerous to copy. Okay, so whenever you're in a Race World First guild, it's very dangerous to copy, because then you have to reprogress, and like you said, the opportunity cost of copying means that you have to just completely restart where you were, and that allows the other guild to kind of be ahead in some ways. All right, Liquid has also engaged the Jailer. They have 1 pull with their best 91.3. Something that is to note, though, is they are 7/10 of an item level ahead of where Echo currently stands. I know you can't really see that number from here, as you currently squint at the
Okay,
screen.
hold on, yeah, give me a minute.
They're 7/10 of an item level ahead, which I'm kind of surprised about. At the same time, I don't think that item level is like super important right now, especially compared to how much it was week 1.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I'm also not sure, like, because I don't have like a list of all loot at the top of my head at all times. I do know there's some classes that'll take certain items that'll kind of like artificially lower your eye level. Like, for example, if you're using some M plus gear that you didn't get out of your vault, but it's still technically better gear, sometimes that happens. Usually with a gap this big, if it's like 0.7, that's probably not the case. They maybe just do have more actual gear tunes. But yeah, and also one thing to remember is with how many splits that they do, the more splits that are done and the more resets that we have, the more that the RNG element of gear is taken out because you can like trade amongst each other a bit more. So that's something that I'd actually be really curious to ask them. By the way, like when they're getting this deep in the tier, how happy they are with the gear, not the gear ring, but like, is there any of them being like, yeah.
Do you think? Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. I think with a really long tier like this, though, you can't necessarily get screwed on gear. Maybe that's just like a really gross overstatement, though.
Wait, I squinted and saw someone in chat say 6 healing. And it looks like they're right. We have 3 Priestson, a Mistweaver Shaman.
Oh, they are
and
6 healing.
Scaris.
Huh. I think that this is again, learning attempts. This is them trying to figure out the pacing of the first phase and like how are they supposed to get these chain lightning through. And there's no real point in trying to optimize for DPS at the very beginning whenever you don't know how bad the damage check is going to be at the end. So you may as well try to see like what you can find out with 6 healing, and you know that your DPS is going to increase by a ton on the reset.
Yeah, exactly that. And we use the same concept can be applied to like lust timings. We see this all the time where they're lusting in earlier phases because they want to see further. Like on Lords of Dread, I think they moved it around a couple times. Trying to think if there's like a better example, but
Halandras, they were just slamming lust randomly.
Yeah, like you see that often when they just want to see prog. Halandras would probably be a better example because it was a bit more consistent. Like, I don't know if I think they probably did some in phase 1, but we saw them in phase 2 a lot.
I have a question. Has your guild ever done attempts on bosses where they don't DPS the boss at all, and you were like strictly just told, don't hit the boss? Like, it doesn't matter if you're DPSing the boss or not. Just make sure you're doing the movement perfectly. I've done attempts like this before.
We have had that. I'm trying to think. Like, I know I have had that for something, but off the top of my head, I do strictly remember Avatar, where they're like, obviously you're just going to be hitting the boss. There's nothing else to hit. So just like, we're going to have you guys run here, move here. This platform's going to be destroyed. This is what we're going to have left. So I have seen it like with that fight, which is a while ago.
We had we did it for Agrimar is what my guild ended up doing, just so we could make sure that we had the movement right for the baits and then everybody getting the melee to soak the frontal.
Yeah,
because people were being dumb.
I do know in Nighthold at some point, one of our officers, we didn't have the whole raid do it, but what he was doing, he's like, okay guys, I'm just not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna sit here on this fight, and he's like, I'm just not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna watch specifically. So we had just a raid leader do it at some point.
Okay, Zalia getting counterspelled, full locked on Holy. Kind of bad for an H-Priest to get locked on Holy. If he was Disc, he would be able to press some buttons, but not right now.
It is looking a little dicey. But
okay, so they're phased into phase 2 currently. Azeroth's health is looking okay. So on 3 minutes, some of those Blood of Azeroth puddles do despawn. They do get new additional ones into phase once they enter phase 2, which makes me wonder, does the console need to be healed all the way to full, or like what's the deal with it? In addition to that, the Jailer is going to just go and smack the console again here in just a couple seconds. The Shattering Blast is to reduce the pillars. That is a heroic mechanic. You do see now going over there and completely deleting one of those pillars. There's the Decimator, where if depending on how close you are to it, it does apply a little bit of a knockback. Again, another heroic mechanic, but not many people have seen this boss on heroic.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Oh, okay, this makes sense.
Want to fill us in?
So it looks like every time he goes and hits the console, it reduces the console's HP by 22%. And it looks like after he does do his 2 shatter pillar, God, I don't even know what the shattering blast cast. After he does both of his shattering blast casts, then he goes and smacks Azeroth again for 22% HP. So you do need to heal it all the way up, otherwise you're going to start having problems. I see. Okay, this makes sense. This is a good pull though. I think it's actually it's not even a new best. The boss is shielded heavily.
Yeah. But just like we were talking about, half the raid's dead. It's obviously like a wipe, but here they're just kind of getting some information.
There's a mechanic that I'm missing. I don't know why the boss is shielded currently. Maybe our third cast or somebody in chat understands why the boss has a massive shield. Because I, for one, don't. And that is a big shield as well. That has to be a mythic mechanic.
Yeah, we just saw him smack Azeroth again. She just, ugh.
What is going on? Okay, so this is the area denial from the Eternity's End cast. Oh my god. All right. Let me pull up the dungeon journal. The jailer.
Meanwhile, the dungeon journal is really hard because there's like a list of like 50 different things in there.
Yeah, well, I'm pulling it up on Wowhead. Let me see.
It is pretty interesting though, because like for the Race the World First Raiders, like just a reminder for anyone that is like kind of tuning in like here and there, these last 3 bosses weren't on PTR.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to just look at the dungeon journal to find all of the stuff. It's not easy.
Okay, some very smart chatter says every player that dead is a 1% shield and it doubles per death. Okay, thank you so much. This makes sense. That's why that shield was massive, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Thank you, TY.
It does kind of make sense because he gains power. Like, lore-wise, he gains power as people die. So it's kind of like a cool little...
I don't know if that's 100% true. Like, I can't confirm that at this current time, but that does seem reasonable. Definitely need... This is the point where having World of Warcraft installed on this laptop may be beneficial. But it's fine.
It's fine. We got the
Yeah,
Wowhead pages.
Our third caster, Twitch chat. Lore Omega Lol.
Well, you know, I thought maybe you guys would like a little fun fact like that, but if you want to ruin it for the class, then maybe we'll never talk about that again.
Well, it's been present since Warcraft 3, so.
Like, what has?
Everything. Life.
Oh, okay. But we are getting into another poll, and I expect we are going to be kind of seeing the same thing here, where they still have the 6 healers. We're probably going to see this for a bit, because again, they're just trying to gain some information. They're trying to keep everybody alive and just get into the next phase.
Yeah.
Because, like, just as you said, we are expecting to see a massive power spike.
There was a lot of weird stuff that is not present in Heroic that we just saw there at the very end with the area denial and just how the Phase 2 was structured with how often he's hitting Azeroth with his mace and stuff. And so now they've just made the Heart of Azeroth gain 15% HP. So each time... Okay, this makes sense. But then again, so every single time I think that they soak one of these puzzles, they make the Heart of Azeroth gain 15%. So they're soaking 2 of them at a time, which is like 30%. They really need to get this thing up to 100, though. Right before the phase. Because they do get some more puddles in P2, and they weren't utilizing those the last pull. But then it's the question of, like, how important are they really? And that's not something that you can answer until they start getting later progressed in the fight. This is something that you talked about earlier, is like the brain trust will go in after the evening, look at all of the VODs and stuff like that, and be here until 4 a.m. and be like, well, we think we know what's going on.
Yeah, we have those poor analysts, like, crawl out of the sewers at night and just, like, do their, like, mathematician work.
They're not rats. They're people.
They were mean to me, so I'm just kind of taking it out on them now, but... Fortunately, have a death there, but plenty of battle res is available throughout the fight. We're seeing Azeroth's health right now. It looks like it's about 35%.
We got Uroth's health. Okay, so now some of these new runes are coming out. People are making sure that they jump into the hole to be able to bring up the pillars. Sometimes they're line of sighting behind the pillars to make sure that they don't blow up their raid. I'm still unsure as to why they're doing that, even to to this day, that would be something that I have to just like ask them later on, like what exactly is the purpose of line of sighting those runes? Because I feel like you'd want to be moving the boss just a little bit faster than they are, and so there's no real point in using the pillars to line. But now you see they have the assignments. It says bomb back middle, and now clicks jumping in that hole, immediately getting back into melee to hit the boss, and so after this tank buster, I suspect that they're going to start using that chain lightning to heal Azeroth again.
Yeah, it's really difficult because you have to do it around the tank buster like that because you need enough people to soak.
Yes.
And then there's also people getting the bombs, which...
So see, this is the issue right here. It's like, it's too slow.
But it's the thing, it's like, even watching this, it's like, when do they have the time? It's just like...
No clip.
Exactly.
Do you just YOLO it at some point? Like, what exactly?
I feel like... It's like even during these lines, like what if like as they spread, you could kind of sneak one in through there, but I have no idea.
I guess. All right. Eternity's End has been called as they do enter Phase 2, and Azeroth has died, and so have the Raiders once more. So what if, and hear me out, you ran 20 people with Pod Tender and lived through Azeroth dying?
Well, see, Azeroth dying means it's the end of the world, so I think that kind of defeats the purpose.
Well, isn't there like a sword already in Azeroth?
Yeah, but maybe it didn't like reach the core or whatever.
So what if we got the Halandra's bomb to blow it up?
Why?
Oh, you know. Heated potato bomb.
Oh, wait. Like the one on this displate right behind me that you can buy at displate.com for 20% off unless you buy 3 or more and can get a discount of 31% off?
Up to 31% off, yes. That display, exactly. Good call.
Okay.
Good call. Anyways, yeah, so clearly the casters are losing it as we have entered pull 50 of the Jailer. Still don't know particularly what's going on, but they are progressing Phase 1. It's kind of their progression's kind of stalling out a little bit, is what I would say, but they're just trying to get through the overlaps still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, because, I mean, like I said, we didn't really get to see testing for this boss, so it's like, for all of the other ones, they had, like, a ton of conversation ahead of time, because the Dungeon Journal is, like, available.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, when it comes to these final bosses, all they had was when Normal and Heroic was released. After that, it's just, like, that's when they have to comb through as much as they can, as fast as they can. So I'm not surprised that between pulls, like, every boss has, like, a figure-it-out kind of stage.
Sure.
This one is, like, that, but, like, multiplied.
Yeah.
Partially because of the time constraint that they had.
I think it doesn't help. Okay, it doesn't help, at least in this context, that the bosses, Lords of Dread and Ragalan, I felt like they were fairly simple, just like DPS race kind of fights. The Jailer is quite intricate in the fact that it was not tested on Heroic. So End bosses are never tested on Mythic. But the fact that it wasn't tested on Heroic, and it wasn't even available during Heroic Week 1, I think it just, like you said, there's just so much information that's not available for these players because not many people have done the boss. And it's kind of hard to learn on the fly.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, just kind of like day one. It does feel a bit slow, but...
I've been loving this race, though. Like, just in general, even though the race has been very long, this is the longest race, at least in the modern Mythic rating era, I've been having a ton of fun, and I think that just, like, the sheer difficulty of a lot of these bosses has been quite cool.
It has been really cool. I think the thing...
Oh, somebody's in the hole. They didn't die. Oh, never mind. Jeeth is dead.
Okay,
Good night.
I was going to say, I was like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, everything's fine.
Could have been a Warlock. You poured it out of the hole. Like, you never really know.
It's not the biggest deal in the world, because like we're seeing now, they are just kind of 6 healing, so it's like, you can pretty easily lose one, because like, this is just to see the fight as much as they can. They definitely don't plan on hitting any sort of like enrage timer currently, because again, this is just like the learning day, so... Not a huge deal to lose one there.
How have you felt about the difficulty of the raid, though? Like, what were you saying about that?
Oh, yeah, so I was going to say, like, genuinely, I overall love this raid so far.
Sure.
And I feel bad even, like, talking about this because it's been a talking point so many times. I wish we would just stop with the power spikes.
Okay, that's fair.
I wish it would just be the difficulty that it is all the way through. Unfortunately, you will always get those naturally with a week reset, which is why you just hope it's tuned around the boss dying later in whatever week it is. But I'm I don't really like the power spikes because I feel like
I don't think that I agree, but I understand where you're coming from.
yeah, it's just so it's like yeah, people feel differently about it. It just feels weird. It's like I imagine the earlier bosses are tuned around week 1, the later ones are weeked around it having like the 4 set week 2, and then that just feels kind of like weird to me. I'm just not really a fan.
There's a druid that almost went in the hole. I think that at least for me, the only issue was like double legendary not being available on patch launch. That seems like kind of a miss. I think just like the natural progression of getting your 4 set and stuff like that, and just natural gear progression is totally fine. But obviously, we just have differing opinions on that.
Oh yeah, no, I actually like natural gear progression. I just don't like it when the progression is like massive spikes. Is all.
So you think that just the general gear progression in this game should be lower tier in and tier out. I see.
Yeah, like, you know what I really liked was slow progression. Oh my god, which was slow progression over time. Corruption. Just kidding. I hated corruption.
I was like, oh, hold on, wait. That was a hot take. Hold on, wait. Yeah,
no,
I really love corruption, the slowest progression system in the game.
You know, definitely don't like progression. But no, natural gear progression, I tend to really, really like natural gear progression, and I think that's a good way for bosses to like artificially be nerfed. I definitely prefer it to be that way.
That's fair. Giga Chad corruption enjoyers, wrong. You're wrong.
I'm over Ineffable Truth, like never again. Like you would get so much IT, by the way, as a Holy Paladin that like the input lag in the game or whatever just sometimes couldn't handle it.
That's just because you're old.
Okay.
Yep. Old woman hands.
Yeah, maybe I should just play like a slow casting boomkin class so that I can make sure to hit every global properly.
I mean, it is relatively low APM.
Better yet, we could just go to tank, which is where like you kind of just go to retire like Dratnos, you know?
That's where all players go to die, is tanking.
Yeah.
But, as they say in the industry, those who can't do, tank. And those who can't tank, raid and Pop-Tart corn dog. All right. So now we have entered the Jailer Phase 2. This is looking like maybe potentially a new progression pull. I think that their best pull before this was like 76%. We don't have a massive shield on the Jailer at this current moment. Oh, okay, can we go to Lorgox? What is that? Okay, so Lorgox like soaked... They broke apart the Blood of the Azeroth puddle, and it just shot into these fragments that just like cut straight through the middle of the raid. What in the world is this fight? Huh. That was kind of cool. So, but it did heal. It did heal Azeroth, which was the important part. And so now these people are getting MC'd. That's like a normal heroic mechanic, by the way. And so you would like leg sweep them or ring a piece them or something like that. Now Mira's and now are currently just trying to see out the remainder of the fight. And this is looking pretty good. I think that maybe that's probably not a new best now that I'm looking at the numbers. But hey, I feel like we learned a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't technically a new best, but it definitely wasn't the sense of information that they're getting. Because again,
Sure.
we don't really want to pay too much attention to the percentage, at least today, because this is definitely an information getting stream. But that was like the furthest thing that was, and right there we see, by the way, those 3 like pillars that are up.
Oh,
as well.
We're seeing into the last phase right now.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure you don't want those 3 to get there like that. I think you want to break the line of those, right?
You don't want them to get there, but it does immediately start the last phase. So if they're looking for something specifically in phase 3, that is a way that they could do it, is just like not using the shattering smashes to break those pillars. But the Jailer then went and smacked Azeroth and wiped the raid.
Yeah.
But we've seen into the last phase, assumedly. There's a poll in chat a little bit ago that was... Apparently people believe there's going to be a secret mythic phase. Which I think that there might be. But we'll see.
Well, that's like saying something might... Well,
okay.
Of course.
Okay, so, well, N'Zoth had a secret mythic phase. Argus turned red. Archimonde had a secret mythic phase. So most of the bosses, there's something that happens that's not in the dungeon journal specifically.
I'm realizing how much I don't remember, but was Archimonde's secret phase like that whole new realm? The purple phase?
Yeah.
Or was it on... Okay, I was like...
Yeah.
Been a while. Been a long time.
It was the new realm.
That was back in my day when I was in college. Makes me sound really old when I put it that way.
That was back in my day when I was in high school, so...
But yeah, so you can kind of see a comparison there. We want to make a nice little chain to heal the heart of Azeroth, as we've been talking about. The Jailer, he wants to get those 3 pillars in a row to chain it in there. So we have to break them, to make sure that that doesn't happen. But you know, as we've seen, they might have just kind of like intentionally let that happen.
Yeah.
Because again, this is all information.
Are they trying to see phase 3 so they can get new timers? Like, are they trying to make sure that Just Wait was worth bringing to this event? Nobody really knows.
All I'm saying is, all I do is seeing him just kind of like raid the catered food that's out there. I always just kind of see him in the red room.
Yeah. He just steals the catered food, steals the snacks from the snack table,
blames me, and then just leaves.
Yeah, lays in the beanbag chairs, and then sometimes Grim comes and gets him. He goes, "All right, I got to set up some timers. I'll be right back."
That's pretty much the interaction with them. Yeah.
Yes, of course. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like at least a secret phase or some mechanics that are missing from the dungeon journal. Alex believed that there's not because there's more often than not they allude to something in the dungeon journal, and there's nothing that's alluded to here. But
I mean, that's a pretty good like reference to draw from that.
Yeah.
I usually kind of go off of like historical data, but the problem is I never remember anything from previous years. So I know sometimes we've seen a lot of secret phases. I feel like this is more. I was gonna say it kind of feels like an old school thing, and they do less and less over time. I would still consider, and also people define secret phase differently. By the way, with Sylvanas, some people are like, "Oh, it's just a lowered percentage health," but it's like.
That was not a secret phase.
I see, like, when that's the thing, though, is, like, I call that one just because it was, like, an unexpected, like, nothing else was different, sure, but...
So, hear me out. What if Cho'Gall showed up? I'm listening. I think that we've seen this before.
You actually think Cho'Gall's gonna show up?
Could you not be doing that while you say that? I don't know, man, maybe.
Wait, is Cho'Gall gonna be here?
All right. Anyways, no, I don't think it's Cho'Gall. I wouldn't be shocked if there was some stuff that was missing from the dungeon journal, though.
I mean, they usually don't list secret phases in the dungeon journal, right? Like anytime there has been.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there was that one time that Gul'dan's secret phase was accidentally listed in the dungeon journal during the PTR, and then they had to remove it.
Wait, was this a Nighthold?
Yeah. So before the Nighthold PTR, like the patch that Gul'dan got added to the dungeon journal, it just had on Mythic. It just had the Illidan secret phase in the dungeon journal for some reason. And then they removed it like a day later, and so it like spoiled it for people, I guess.
Interesting. Though to be fair, it wouldn't have been a huge deal because I don't think at that point we still were getting the streamed races.
Kind of true.
So it's just kind of like a.
God, we haven't had one of those in. We had the Magni Mother zone in.
Actually, I officially have a stance on secret phases. I liked them when races weren't like televised.
Okay.
Now that they are, it's just kind of like whoever sees it first. It's just kind of like the same thing of whoever gets there first. It kind of gives information to the people behind them.
But it would look badass, and
yeah,
I'm kind of down.
Yeah, it's like, again, from a spectator point of view, it's really cool. But anytime I answer this, it's kind of like from a raider perspective. I like them when it wasn't televised. Now that it is, I prefer we don't have them for like complete fairness.
I disagree, but okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, why do you like them?
Because I think it's just fun. I think that a lot of raiding can be very mathematical and stale sometimes, and I think that like the concept of the unknown is something that is super cool, especially with the Race to World First, where you don't really know what you're supposed to be getting. And honestly, too, they haven't done like a good secret phase in a very long time, and I think that now would be a great time to do it, because it's clear that this raid has been tuned very difficult for the Race to World First, and I think that Blizzard has been quite involved with this race in a very good way. And I think it would just be a great capstone to the event and to the expansion if they had a solid secret phase here for the Jailer.
Yeah, it's like, the other thing too is I'd be more okay with the secret phase if it was something that wouldn't, I guess, change what they're doing too much. Like, let's just say they come into something and they're like, you need 8 routes for this to work. It's like, well we only have...
That's cringe.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, if a secret phase was something like that, that's just like, you really needed to know it beforehand. I really wouldn't like it. But to be fair, I don't think we've seen too much of that anyway.
Yeah.
Because the Sylvanas one, again, that literally was just, it's actually an extra 5%.
All right, some intelligent chatter says, why have a secret phase whenever you can have a secret boss instead? And I am down.
True.
I would be
I think they're
down for Secret Boss.
I think that's pretty fair. Oh wait, Secret Boss. I thought they were referring to the jailer as in like, haha, we couldn't get any information on it. You mean like a full new Secret Boss?
I would be down for a full Secret Boss.
Hmm.
The last time we had one was like what? Kata? No, Cho'Gall, I guess. I don't know if you count Cho'Gall, but
I was like kind of taking a break in like Cataclysm, so I don't remember too much about that time.
Rodin. Oh, Rodin. Yeah, I guess Rodin.
Right. Yeah, he was in the basement chilling. Chained up in the basement.
Stop that. Preach was right. Preach was right, you are being weird.
No, he was looking at you and he said that, to be fair. At least we are getting another ready check.
Ooh, another pull, perhaps?
Yeah, I think didn't see too much that last time, but I really want to see another pull where they get kind of like more insight into the second phase.
Sure.
I really, really want to see more in the next one because we pretty much see how the first phase works now.
Yeah,
They still just kind of have to figure out how to chain the pools into the heart of Azeroth. But yeah, it was pretty exciting when we finally got to see those like cosmic drift coming from Thorgox. I think that's a cool ability name for him.
Are you talking about Starfall?
No, it was something where we saw he soaked or something, and then all of the
from the Azerite puddles. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what the deal with that is. I think that they are starting to get better progression though, and I have a suspicion that they're probably going to accelerate their phase 3 like they intentionally did by not using the Shattering Blast on those pillars, just to allow them to get into that last phase immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart.
Oh, it's a bit of a wipe angle coming out here.